you specifically said you wouldn't pardon your son. Before the election. You're announcing it now that we know that Donald Trump is coming in and about to be sworn in as the 47th president. You were intending to do this all along, which again is no problem, but it doesn't make you any less full of it. Because when you look at Donald Trump and how the Democrats went after him, you do understand that the Democrats are no longer in a position to say anything, right? You can talk till the cows come home. You whistling into the wind. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say right now. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about your party. Because when you pardon your son, going back on your word, telling the American people there was no way that you were going to pardon him when everybody and their grandmama knew you were lying but didn't hold you accountable for it. And now you've confirmed what people believed, that you were probably going to be lying about that very thing that you said you wouldn't do for your son.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we have to continue to talk about the backlash that Joe Biden is getting for pardoning his son, Hunter Biden, after he promised the American people he would not do that. Okay, he just flat out lied to the American people. And people are seeing the fact that the Democrat Party is corrupt, right? This is an overt example of corruption. Now, we all knew that the Democrat Party was corrupt. Anybody watching this channel should not be surprised by the overt corruption of the Democrat Party. But when the President of the United States, when Joe Biden does something like this, that is just so in your face, it's hard for Democrats to come out here and to defend this, okay? Because Biden essentially is admitting that his son is not only guilty when it comes to the crimes that he's been charged with, but probably guilty of crimes that he should have been charged with, but he wasn't charged with. And there are some people who are seeing this, right? They're actually looking deeper than the surface and saying, wait. There's a whole lot more going on here when it comes to this blanket pardon that Joe Biden is given to his son, Hunter.
When you notice the period of time in which Biden has provided the blanket pardon for his son, the dates are super fishy. I noticed that it's like this lengthy 11-year period. So like what justifies that? And more importantly, when did he commit the crimes that he's being prosecuted for? So I looked into this, and luckily Lee Fong did some excellent reporting on this issue. He writes that the order grants Hunter a pardon for those offenses against the United States which he has committed or may have committed or taken part in during the period from January 1st, 2014 through December 1st, 2024. So that's 10 years, a 10-year span. So he writes that the pardon window extends beyond the period of the crimes prosecuted by the Department of Justice. Okay, because after all, the illegal firearm purchase was on October 12th of 2018. Hunter failed to pay his 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2019 taxes on time. So what justifies going all the way back to January 1st of 2014? Well, 2014 is when he was tapped to serve on the board of the Ukrainian gas company Burisma. And while Joe Biden has not been found guilty, there's no evidence to indicate that Joe Biden engaged in any influence peddling. Recent reporting from the New York Times indicates that Hunter Biden was certainly trying to engage in influence peddling. Now, there hasn't been any prosecution on those grounds, and I think that the congressional Republicans were so intent on catching Joe Biden in some sort of criminality that they kind of didn't pursue prosecution of Biden on these alleged corruption charges or corruption allegations. But nonetheless, I think that window is far too long. And to me, it signals that there's a possibility that Hunter Biden did something illegal, and Joe Biden is offering this blanket pardon for a lengthier period of time in order to protect his son. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, so Anna Kasparian, you're almost there. You almost got it. You almost got it, except one, there is evidence that Joe Biden was involved, right? That he knew about his son's influence peddling operation and that he was a participant, okay? This guy met with many of the people that Hunter Biden met with. He had lunch with him. He was on phone calls. there's evidence, okay? But also on top of that, I think it's much deeper, okay? I think that the whole tax and gun charges thing was a facade to make the DOJ seem nonpartisan and unbiased. While at the same time, Biden's goal was to get his son off for more than just what he was charged for by the DOJ, but what he should have been charged with, which again is acting as a foreign agent, okay, without registering in his influence peddling operation that he participated in with Burisma and Ukraine, and also China as well too, right? That is what he should have been charged with, and the Biden crime family knows that's the real scandal here, okay? And Biden used this opportunity, the charges against Hunter, in order to pardon Hunter for his actual crimes, right? The things that people actually want to see Hunter Biden and Joe Biden be held accountable for, right? So again, I think it's deeper than what a lot of people are saying, okay? I think that the whole thing was really just a plot to get Hunter Biden off when it comes to the Burisma stuff. And what a lot of people find to be fascinating and kind of pathetic as well too, when it comes to the Democrats and their excuses for Joe Biden pardoning Hunter, breaking his promise, is this idea that, well, Biden's DOJ is politicized against him, okay? Is politicized against him is the argument that Democrats are making to justify this. And let's just say with some people, this is not landing well. Like, for example, Stephen A. Smith, who is a Democrat, right? And I don't care what he says, he votes Democrat, but even he is just like, nah. That is peak hypocrisy.
What's your take on the pardon?
You know, the Biden situation disgusted me in terms of the pardon only from this standpoint, Chris. Nobody on the planet, you want to be a cynic and you want to act like you would be offended by something like that if you're one of those people out there, fine. But no one within reason would have a problem with him saying, it's my son. I love him. There's no way I'm sending him to jail. And I have the power to avoid it. Nobody would blame him for that. But that's not where he went. So I didn't have a problem to answer your question directly with the decision that he made to pardon his son. Boo Boo the Fool knew he was going to do that. I don't care who he stood in front of or sat in front of and said that he wasn't going to pardon his son and he was just going to go by the letter of the law. Please, everybody and their grandmother knew he was going to pardon his son. But to come out and to start talking about how it's been a witch hunt and the Department of Justice and others were after him or whoever it was, and, you know, the GOP rather was after him. Well, wait a minute. What have y'all been doing with Donald Trump all of these years? Now, you can make an argument about the legitimacy of the cases against Donald Trump compared to what wasn't legitimate, etc. That's not the point. The point is it was clearly politicized. You had folks on the left who were hell-bent on going after Donald Trump because they were determined to make sure that he couldn't run for re-election or that these elements would get in the way of him possibly winning re-election. And now we know why more than ever, because they weren't confident they would ever be able to beat him. He'd been a Republican nominee since 2016. He beat Hillary Clinton with the Electoral College vote. He wouldn't concede defeat in 2020, but he did receive over 74 million votes at that particular moment in time. And then you fast forward 4 years later, despite the 34 felony convictions, the 2 impeachments, the bevy of crimes that he had been accused of, the Republican voters out there, the conservative voters out there, and a lot of independents from various communities said, he's the guy we want, and I've said it on many, many occasions. It wasn't about him. Just like it wasn't about Biden in 2020, it was more against Trump. In this particular instance, it was an indictment against the Biden administration, what had been going on for the last 4 years. Some of the things going on with the border, obviously inflation, of course, crime in the streets, of course, woke and cancel culture and all of that, it all played a role. And so for him to come out and to talk about that this was a witch hunt when clearly it could be argued that's exactly what you were doing to Donald Trump, or you assisted in doing, seems beyond hypocritical. And that was what disgusted me. It wasn't his decision. It wasn't him pardoning his son. It was the weak, pathetic explanation that he gave, which has most critics just shaking their heads and raising their eyebrows and saying, what nerve you have.
Yeah, exactly, right? These are the same people that told us it's a conspiracy that the DOJ is politicized under Joe Biden, just for Joe Biden to come out and say that the DOJ has been politicized, right? His own DOJ was politicized against him. This is why he pardoned his son. Pathetic. Again, these are the same people that claim that the DOJ was politicized under Trump, and then all of a sudden under Biden, it was impossible until Biden decided to pardon Hunter Biden. And now these are the same people also complaining, well, the DOJ is about to be politicized under Trump. Again, so I want you guys to understand how this works. The DOJ is only politicized when it's convenient for the Democrats, right? In any other situation where anybody else claims that the DOJ is politicized, no, that's a conspiracy theory. That's a far-right conspiracy theory, right? It's amazing how that works. And this is why Democrats are having such a hard time defending this, right? And on CNN, you have Scott Jennings just having an absolute ball debating Democrats on this issue, taking a blowtorch to the whole entire CNN panel, trying to play mental gymnastics to defend Joe Biden pardon his son Hunter. Take a look.
NBC News reported that the president and his top aides met this summer and decided two things: that they were going to keep this option open, but they were going to publicly maintain that they would not pardon Hunter Biden through statements from Joe Biden and statements from the White House press secretary. They had a meeting. They coordinated the lie, I guess for political purposes. And now that he's leaving office, he is going back on what he told the American people. This isn't simply changing your mind. This is just fulfilling what you always intended to do. No Republican is shocked that he is doing this. What I am shocked at is the duplicity of the President of the United States and his top aides to come together and form this lie and stick to it this entire time. We all knew it was ridiculous, and now the American people are seeing what a disgrace he really is.
I think it's incredibly rich to have you say that the people got together and they were duplicitous and they created a lie.
NBC News said it.
I'm saying they created a lie because,
NBC News said it.
Honestly, what the other side has been saying for years, what you guys ran on for president, was multiple lies. I mean, if Eric Holder said it right, I think. He said if Hunter's name was Joe Smith, this case would probably have never even gone to trial, right? That it was always a political witch hunt. And it was always...
But wasn't, to Scott's point, I mean, wasn't it a lie? I mean, you can defend it, but wasn't it a lie that he was not going to pardon him?
No, I believe the circumstances have changed. I think that we now have a president coming into office who's talking about firing squads, who's talking about running people around the country and making sure that everyone who's his enemy is going to be punished. And Hunter Biden lied about his drug use on a government form when he was buying a gun. And he failed to file and pay taxes when he was a drug addict. He paid back those taxes with interest. Donald Trump himself was indicted for 17 counts of criminal tax fraud, more than Hunter, and he's going to be the president of the United
11
States.
years.
So
you're missing a few things here. 11 years, full and unconditional.
Yeah, so you see that, you heard that. Again, the excuses are endless, right? They just come up with a new one every single day. Okay, this woman just said, well, it was always political, and that Hunter's a crackhead, and also circumstances have changed, right? But he didn't lie. Joe Biden didn't lie, though. And the crazy part about this is that Scott Jennings actually did a great job of really checkmating the panel here when it comes to this idea that somehow, some way, Hunter Biden was being politically persecuted. Therefore, this justifies what Joe Biden did by simply asking the question of, well, if you really believe that, shouldn't Merrick Garland be fired, right? Should he be fired as the head of the DOJ if he weaponized his department to wrongfully go after the president's son?
2 points.
The Department of Justice investigations, indictments into Hunter Biden, this has nothing to do with the Republican Party. They don't run the Justice Department. The Justice Department, as you might know, since you had been in the government at one time before you lost your race this year, is an agency of the executive branch. The Attorney General is appointed by the president. This is the Biden administration investigating, charging, and ultimately finding conviction of Hunter Biden. The Republican Party runs no investigation. This is an official DOJ action, is it not?
Well,
Just say yes. It's
no.
So, are we saying we have a problem with all of those things?
How many of the Trump children that we were told are corrupt needed pardons? Zero.
Scott,
no one looked into
okay,
them,
to
Scott.
I would love to know what Derek Bush was getting $2 billion from the Saudis. The Trump children did not face federal charges. To your point, I'm going to give you that. But the person on here, Charles Kushner, who was convicted for a crime.
Did he go to jail?
Yes, he was living in Alabama prison.
He served time?
But he was
Yes, he was
Did
in
Hunter?
prison.
He did
They're
not.
completely different crimes.
It strikes me that one of the arguments against
So
this pardon,
you didn't answer the question.
He's literally moved from a jail cell in Alabama
in my mind,
to a...
they're not equivalent. They're not equivalent in any way, shape, or form.
Please.
But it's right. You're bringing up an issue, and you brought it up, so I want to address it. This idea that Hunter Biden is being selectively prosecuted. Now, one of the core criticisms of the Republicans, and Trump specifically, during the Biden years, is that the Department of Justice is engaging in selective prosecution and investigations of Republicans. And today, what I hear Democrats saying is, you know what, you're right. Joe Biden's DOJ does engage in selective prosecutions, which is exactly why we need people to come in and clean it out now. There seems to be bipartisan consensus.
But
Selective prosecutions.
Does it open that door, Congressman?
What door? I'm sorry.
The door
Can I
to
ask a question? Do you all think that Merrick Garland should be fired because of this corruption at the DOJ? You think there's corruption there? You think this was a politicized witch hunt? But the Attorney General should be held accountable, no?
These charges were trumped up because his name is Hunter Biden.
But wouldn't you, if you were the president, would you believe the Attorney General?
Let's consult our legal expert.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that, right? Democrats have mental gymnastics themselves into agreeing with Republicans. You can't make this up. You can't make this up, okay? These are the same people that swore up and down, told you that you're a crackpot, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a right-wing extremist if you say that the DOJ is politicized, just for them to agree that the DOJ is politicized in defense of Joe Biden. This is insane. It really is. But it's hilarious. It is hilarious to watch Democrats bend themselves backwards so much into a pretzel where they agree with what Republicans and conservatives have been saying for years now, right? And this is what happens when your only principle is just simply hating Trump, right? When the only thing that you actually stand for is hating Trump no matter what, right? And supporting Democrats no matter what they do. This is what happens, right? This is how you embarrass yourself on national television when that is your principle. And that is what you're seeing happen right now, okay? Because if Democrats and liberals actually held themselves to the same standards that they want to hold everybody else to, this wouldn't be happening, right? You would have these people embarrassing themselves on national television trying to defend the indefensible. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.